Good afternoon and welcome to today's San Jose State News Conference. It's October the 16th. San Jose State's returned from its game at Hawaii. The Spartans have a bye week this week. The next San Jose State game is against BYU, and that is Saturday, October the 28th. We just received game time and television information. Game time will be 1 p.m. Mountain Daylight Time. That's noon here in the Pacific time zone. The game will be televised by BYU TV and will be carried on ESPN3 and the ESPN app. So here to review last Saturday's game against Hawaii and to talk about what's ahead for the Spartans, head coach Brent Brennan.
All right. Thanks, Lawrence. Hello. Thank you for coming. Obviously, we are disappointed with the way the game went at Hawaii. I do feel like there was a lot of good stuff in that game from our team in all three phases. Thought the team did a good job of handling the trip, which is always a challenge when you go to Honolulu. And, credit Ben Thenis and our administration for really taking care of us and giving the players a great experience. The trip to Pearl Harbor was an awesome moment, I think, for every person that was on the trip. Trying to give our players some education beyond football. We want to do that every chance we can. In terms of the game, credit Hawaii, Coach Rolovich and his staff, good people. They played hard and they beat us, as you guys saw. I thought, we had some good stuff going offensively. It was nice to get Montel back. I thought he threw the ball well, spread the ball around a lot, hit a lot of different receivers. I also think our defense came up with some big stops when we needed them. And then there was also some great plays in our kicking game. Bryce Crawford continues to be a star, in my opinion. He's a great kid, very tough mentally. He stepped in and punted for us, stepped in and handled the kickoffs for us, did an incredible job, in my opinion. He probably wants the long PAT back, and I'll get to that in a second. But he probably hit that a little low. But overall, he's just been fabulous. And then the return by Rasheed Johnson was a big-time return. Very well executed, very well blocked. Anytime you return a kick for a touchdown in a game, it's a big deal because it's really hard to do. So I thought we did a nice job with that. I just want everybody in Spartan Nation to know that I'm absolutely embarrassed by the penalty after the touchdown. That's not what we're all about. It's not what I'm about. And it's totally unacceptable. And we will not have anything like that going forward. If we do, whoever's involved can go play at another school. They won't play for me or for San Jose State. But that was just embarrassing. It's not how we act. So with that being said, let's have it.
Coach, obviously it was a business trip to Hawaii, but the team got a unique chance to kind of get that firsthand kind of experience with the a piece of history, Pearl Harbor thing.
Right.
Where does that kind of rank, personally, like all the trips you've gone with college football? Where does that rank, in all the travel?
Oh, well, I would say it's at the top for me. I actually, even though I lived in Hawaii and I coached at UH, I had never done the Pearl Harbor tour, and I thought it was interesting, not knowing how 70 young men are going to respond to something like that, and kind of the seriousness of the moment or the memorial. It was really powerful. I mean, when they showed us that video, it was silent in there. It was really powerful, and so I thought it was a really great experience for those kids. It was a great experience for me, and I thought everyone was very, very respectful. I think everybody understood kind of just the impact of what that day was and being there, and it was just really a great moment. So for me, that would be at the top of my list. I got
Coach.
the sniffles. Sorry, I'm not sick though, Ernie.
Coach, the Spartan defense was solid in the third quarter, but then faltered. What went wrong?
Well, I think we're a little thin in some spots, and so sometimes you're playing guys that don't have the same experience or same command, and so you're trying to put them in a position where they can be successful. And a couple of those plays that got away from us, it was somebody rushing too far up the field and quarterback breaks contain, and it's 3rd and long and it goes to a big first down, which changes momentum. So I think that was kind of the challenge that we were facing there. I thought we had good production, from our linebackers, and our defensive front battled. I thought the guys in the back end, there were some new faces in there. Maurice McKnight, I think strained a groin or something, or he couldn't run, he couldn't move. So all of a sudden you look out there and you see Trey Webb and you see and Jay Leonard, and both those guys are redshirt freshmen, and they're running around tackling and playing their hearts out. So I thought there was some really good stuff, with our defense in that side of the ball, and getting some young guys involved in the game and them having to be in that moment and make plays.
Coach, you touched on it a moment ago about Rasheed Johnson, 96-yard kickoff return for a touchdown, but he also caught a few passes, close to 300 yards all-purpose. Moving forward, where does he slot in, since it seems like from week to week there's been 1 or 2 performers who really stand out? Where does Rasheed fit in going forward?
Well, obviously, we haven't had that kind of production or big playmaking at that position. We saw some of it from Bailey, but he's been out for a couple weeks, and so it was great to see Rasheed step in and make those plays. So, as we just started talking about BYU now, and we spent the morning with some stuff for our players, some education and stuff, and we'll get on the BYU this afternoon. But obviously, Rasheed has to be involved in the game plan. Hopefully, Bailey is ready to go, and that we can be firing on all cylinders. I think Jaquan Blackwell's played really well for a redshirt freshman this year, so I think there's a lot of things to be encouraged about.
Coach Montel, Aaron, solid game against Hawaii. What went into the decision starting him, obviously with the bye week coming up, injury, just coming off an injury?
We're just trying to play the best guy, and we thought Montel was the best guy and gave us the best chance to win. I will give credit, though, to Josh. Josh went in there under fire. Montel got slammed to the turf somewhere there in the 4th quarter, and Josh went in there and hit 4 of 6, I think, and moved us down the field pretty well. So I give a lot of credit to Josh Love being ready to go.
Coach, if there was no penalty after Rasheed Johnson's touchdown on the kickoff return, would you have thought about going for 2 points instead of 1?
We were absolutely going for 2 right there. We already had the call. We were ready to go. And obviously, the penalty happened. So then, you're not going to go for 2 from the 18. So, so then we said, okay, let's kick. We got Bryce, and Bryce has been pounding kicks through the uprights. So, but we had seen all day, their penetration came in the A gap, and something that Coach Bernardi's working on fixing. But those guys, they had a 6'7" guy and a 6'8" guy, and they both hit the A gap, and they overloaded the guard, and one of them was able to get skinny. And then I think Bryce hit a little bit lower ball, tried to drive the ball more than he needed to. He'd been kicking so many long kicks. Those kicks he had to drive because they're so far away, but that one wasn't that way. I think he could have popped it up a little more.
Coach, just your thoughts on the timing of the bye. Your team has played 8 games, a lot of games, and if you think it will give the players kind of a chance to kind of renew themselves going forward.
Well, I hope so. I hope it gives us a chance to get some people back. I hope it gives us a chance to get, physically and emotionally healthy. Obviously, the season hasn't gone the way any of us wanted it to, or anybody out there wanted it to, and so hopefully it gives us a chance to get back to, kind of some hardcore fundamentals, some discipline with our football team, and give us a little bit extra preparation for a really physical BYU team on the road. They are very tough.
And just to touch on the bye week a little bit more, obviously you have 2 weeks before your next game. What goes into the next week and a half before you get on the plane Friday morning probably to go off to Utah? Practice, rest, whatever. What's the full to-do list like?
Well, it's a little bit of a combination of practice and rest, right? Like, we got to get our bodies back, and our bodies are beat up a lot. So we need to be smart about that. We gave the guys today off. We're going to go to tomorrow and Wednesday. We're going to, and then the coaches are going to hit the road Thursday, Friday, Saturday recruiting. So that's part of the challenge of kind of managing this whole thing. Is we haven't been on the road recruiting yet because we felt like young team, lots of young guys playing. We didn't want to leave them on Friday nights and not be around the team on Friday nights. So we made the choice to be here engaged with our football team But the other part of our job is to recruit and bring, quality football players here to San Jose State. So that'll be a big focus on the end of the week.
Did the Rainbow Warriors look to do something different to neutralize what Frankie Ender contributed to the Spartan defense?
No, not so much. Not so much. I think, Frank still had, 9 or 10 tackles. It's like everyone's like, he didn't have 15. He must have had a bad game. That's not the case at all. I think Frank played really well. I think that obviously when you've played as many snaps on defense as Frank has, I think that starts to take its toll a little bit. And so I think this bye week will be something he will really benefit from.
Coach, obviously 8 games through, 5 left to play, 1 win. Seems like every week it's like you have that expo marker and the whiteboard back in your hand. What's it going to take, to find that kind of that pivot? You guys have a minus 200 point differential. If you can narrow down as much as you can, like the theme within the first 8 games, and how you can kind of learn from that going forward.
Okay, it's kind of a whole lot in that question there. I would say, to me, first and foremost, the thing we have to fix is we have to fix the turnover battle. That's what's leading to some of those point differentials. Even the other night, we started off, we forced a turnover, right? We score a touchdown or kick a field goal, and then we score a touchdown the next drive. And so, all of a sudden we start to feel the power of that, of kind of getting plus in the turnover thing. Then obviously it flipped the other way in the second half. But I think that's going to be, the turnover battle is going to be the absolute focus of us over the next, 6 weeks. Something we have to fix in terms of just how secure we are with the ball, and then how we attack offenses and create turnovers by our defense.
Johnson ignited the Spartan offense with 2 receiving touchdowns, 1 kick return touchdown, and 278 all-purpose yards. What's keeping this group from reaching its full potential?
Keeping the receiving group or Rasheed?
The receiving group.
I think that's anytime you have a young or a new quarterback, there's just some timing that's hard to duplicate in the practice environment. So the challenge of that is trying to get them enough reps together where those guys all feel comfortable. When you look at our receiving core, at times this year we've had, true freshmen, a redshirt freshman, and a true freshman out on the field. So some of those guys, and then we had a freshman quarterback or a redshirt sophomore quarterback who haven't played yet. So I think those, as we play and as those guys get more comfortable together, that chemistry will grow. I think the chance for them to reach that potential will be how quickly they can accelerate their learning process, and their trust in one another, trusting some people will be in the right place. I also think part of that is just for those young players eliminating some of the mistakes they made, or that we have made. So just whether it's the depth on a route, running the wrong route, being in the right place where the quarterback's going to expect them to be.
And last we talked about the rest that you'll take through this bye. 504 yards of total offense against Hawaii. First time in almost 2 years. 19 games going over 500 yards for a Spartan offense. What can be done during this longer stretch to kind of keep that momentum going into BYU in a couple weeks?
Well, I think for us, it's just we just need to practice, right? We need to get our bodies healthy, and then we need to practice the details of those things. I think we are much more detailed with some of our route running. Montel made some great throws, and thought our pass protection was pretty good. I think if we eliminate some of the penalties, it's a much different game. But the penalties just killed us, and not just the unsportsmanlike on the touchdown. Some of those penalties happen in football, right? It's pass interference or holding or whatever, right? We're not teaching those things, but football is football, and those things happen. It's kind of the ones that we still have not eliminated completely from our, from our game, is some of the pre-snap penalties, some of those things which we have to eliminate, and I think will help us continue that momentum or build that momentum, right? Because we played, mostly penalty-free when we started churning most of that yardage out in the game. So once we started later in the game, started seeing a little more pressure, a little bit harder on the protection. Saw a couple more holding penalties. You know, our tight end was put in a position kind of trying to pass protect, and it was a little bit tougher. So thank you all.
Thank you, Coach. We'll be back here again on Monday, October 23rd for the next San Jose State News Conference. A reminder, the BYU game, Saturday, October the 28th, 1 o'clock Mountain, noon Pacific on BYU TV, ESPN3, and the radio home of San Jose State football, KLIV 1590 AM. Thank you very much.